Okay, so we are in the last week of Lent, the week 5. And I'm wondering, with everything that you've all been doing for for Lent and your journeys, I'm wondering how you're all doing. How's your experience been? And where are you in this 5th week, this last week in the desert, so to speak, before we go to the most incredible surrender that there ever was? And then the most joyous gift that ever could come from such a surrender. Where are you in this 5th week of Lent? You're on your own if you jump.
Well, in terms of the Enneagram, I think I'm under some, I don't know if it's stress that's driving me to the 7 or not, but I'm taking on too many projects.
There you go.
It's just like it says. So I'm trying to get back to a healthy 5. And I think that some of it has been, I've wanted to do a lot of things in Lent, and Lent's almost over.
Isn't that a natural consequence of the season changing, Nancy?
Yes.
That we just feel more energized and we want to do things and get outside and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, but I've started too many projects as part of that. So you're right. I sort of know what's causing it, but I have to resist.
You know, I really like what you're saying, Nancy, about the idea of as we become more aware of our personality type, we can care for ourselves and nurture ourselves in different ways. And we can see when we start to move. I like the idea of remembering that that our personalities, like our lives, are fluid. And they move from strength to vulnerability to weakness, back and forth. We do with the healthy, average, and an unhealthy, as we've been describing it, really, I think, are a reflection of how we can feel energy-wise, emotionally, in our circumstances at any given time. And when we're aware of how we are in those moments, when like, for example, I think, Margie, what you're saying about us being in a shift of season, it's an interesting thing to say, all right, if I understand my personality better, if I understand the gifts of my spirituality, my personality, as I go into a shift of season, how does that affect me? And then how can I care for myself and express the gifts and talents of my personality in a way that's life-giving and glorifying? So I like what you're saying about that. And I like the way that you're approaching the idea when I say, where are you in the 5th week of Lent? How are you doing? I like the way you put that, Nancy. That's really insightful. I like what you and Margie are doing there. Does anybody have anything else they want to say in relationship to the way that Margie and Nancy are observing what it means to be where you are right now, having studied the Enneagram this far, and maybe knowing a little more about yourself and others around you? Where would you say you are? What are you discovering?
Well, I'm you know, a 2, and I've been in a lot of, I like the letting go. I like the letting go exercises, you know, and as a 2, it's amazed me as I've gotten older that the more I let go of helping people, the more people, and I do less, the more people I have being wanting to be with me. So I go, wait a minute, the less I do, the more people I don't know. It's just been a funny kind of a quieter kind of a help, I guess, is what's happened. So
Rosemary, if I hear you correctly, what you're saying is that as we allow ourselves to transform spiritually and trust in the love of God to
Right.
heal us, the gifts and talents of our personality, as we kind of let go and soften, they
Correct.
become more attractive. I'm going to say more attractive. I mean, I don't know that I can.
The less busy I am with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. The less busy I am,
Yeah.
or the more spontaneous, I guess I am,
Yeah.
instead of in other words, giving up control, letting go of any trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
The less I try to figure out, the more. This is so hard. It's so ambiguous kind of thing, but it's more a mystical kind of a thing that I don't have to work so hard at it. I can just relax into it, and I can be helpful with being relaxed.
I really like what you're saying, Rosemary. I want to say just a little more about what I think I hear you saying, because I know what you mean about something being on the tip of your brain, the tip of your tongue. And especially when we're talking about these kinds of things, it's extremely difficult to express them. It's something that's going on in us that there are no words for, really, in a way. What I think what I'm hearing in you is, I have this quote. I don't know where it is right now. It seems to have disappeared from my desk, but it's by Dallas Willard, and he says the one thing that we have to do is ruthlessly eliminate all hurry from our lives.
Hmm.
And I think, when I first heard that quote a number of years ago, and I actually typed it up and made a frame for it and put it on my desk, I thought about it as taking on too many projects and being too busy. But as I've gone along over the last few years, I've gone from thinking of ruthlessly eliminating hurry in my life from as letting go of my defenses, as letting myself just relax more into the moment and what it is, and know myself and know that I'm loved by God more than I can imagine. So I don't have to press so hard and rush so hard to fix things, as I can just be present to it and know that love will help me through.
Yeah. Letting, it's like you can be busy, but there's a more serene way of, I'll never be serene, I don't think, but it's a calmer way of hurrying or something. I don't know. Letting go.
Rosemary, I'm thinking of you saying I'll never be serene, and I'm wondering whether we need to put that somewhere in your like when you pass in your memoriam. Should we have a statement at the beginning that says, "I will never be serene"?
I ain't gonna quit having a party. The heck with
Or it could read, I'm finally serene.
There you go.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good one. She finally got serene.
She finally got serene.
She was trying so hard, but she finally made it.
She finally got serene, and she found out she was a tennis star.
Tennis star?
Oh,
And I
bad.
finally got grounded.
Is that terrible? Was I really
That was
terrible when I
terrible.
just said that? I probably was.
Worse than
That
terrible.
would be an
Quite
8.
seriously, though, I wanted to
Seriously.
I wanted to respond to Rosemary a little seriously, though, that as somebody who's called her, just like she has people stop by for a little Rosemary time, there is a kind of acceptance and calmness in your positive outlook on things. And that I know it's not classic spacey serene, but there is something there as somebody who's been one of those people showing up in spite of there not being a party announced.
Thank you.
All right. That's very nice. So is there anything else anybody wants to say before we get into the number 8? Well, it's good to have you all. And let's just take a moment now to take a breath. And as we focus on our in-breath, let us imagine ourselves receiving the love of God in all God's gracious and beautiful forms beyond what we can fully understand, blessing us, opening us. And just begin by receiving the breath in. As the breath comes in, focus on the in breath and receiving and being present to the love of God. And when you're ready, I invite you to shift over to focus on your exhale. And as you focus on your exhale, imagine yourself releasing to God any concerns or frustrations or struggles that you have been carrying in this day, maybe up to this day from last week's class. Just give those things over to God in your exhale. So inhale love and exhale and release. Let go of everything that is pushing you in any way this day. Concerns for yourself, for your friends, for your neighbors, for the world. Let it go to God now. And let us be at peace. I thank God for us having this time together to consider more deeply the wonder of who we are and the gifts of our personalities and the gifts of God's grace to help us be empowered to use the uniqueness of ourselves to bring great love and blessing into the world. Amen.
Amen.
And
All right. With that being said, I'm going to start. What happened here is I didn't quite get to finish all of what I was doing. So we're going to start with what I got done for the presentation, and then we're going to move over to the book, and I'm going to finish off the number 8 from the book that we're using. But I will finish off this piece and send it to you when I have, by the end of this week, it will be to you. I apologize that it's been a rough week and I haven't been able to quite accomplish this goal. So our personality style today is the 8 personality. And we're going to begin by recognizing that in the book that we're using, in this book by Ian Morgan Crone and Susan Stable, The Road Back to You, they call the 8 the challenger. Just give me 1 second here. I want to
this is
just,
going to be fun.
you think so, do you now? Well, let me just say, there's no doubt in my mind over all the years that I've studied that I am an 8. So I'm going
I
to
know.
the 8 in all its 8ness to you. So to begin with, the 8, the challenger, is commanding, intense, confrontational. They are motivated by a need to be strong and avoid feeling weak and vulnerable. It's important to realize that that is exactly what goes on in the heart of an 8. An 8 does not want to be weak. They want to be strong, and they do not want to be vulnerable. There's many reasons for that, but that's one of the most important values of an 8. So you'll see this as we go along. The 8 is the anger, is in the anger or gut triad, and these numbers are driven by 8. The 8, the 9, the 8, the 9, and the 1 are all driven by anger, and the 8 externalizes theirs. So I could give you a really good example from this Sunday that Nancy Neff got to witness.
Oh,
This is so pure 8. I'm sorry to tell you this, and I hope it doesn't hurt your hearts when you hear it. So we're coming into church, and we're in our first week, or our first week back. And this is my first week back since David died. So no one has seen me at church since David died. All the people in the soup kitchen that I work with, no one's seen me. So I was really dreading going in because I really didn't want to go through the conversations of David. I didn't want to have to be what? Vulnerable and weak. So I go in, and there are many people who come up to me with deep, sincere pain on their faces to tell me how sorry they am for me and my loss. And as I struggle right now, it was like that for me. I wanted to be gracious and let them tell me, but I didn't want them to tell me, and I didn't want them to hold me because I didn't want to fall apart, because I didn't want that to be seen, because that's how 8s are. So I let it happen because it was really important, because I do have a modicum of spiritual maturity that didn't make me completely run away from it. And it was good to welcome all the love and the attention. But Kimberly and I, the director of the soup kitchen, are very close, and it was hardest to see her. And when I saw her, the first thing she said to me was, "Welcome home." I go,
no.
So the room is being set up for worship, and there's a divider in the community room so that the kitchen is on one side and we can't see all the soup kitchen stuff that's all piled up on one side, and we're making our side of the community room nice and welcome. So on one side of the divider, I am there as the priest, loving and attentive, seeking to set up the altar and do everything that I need to do. And when I walk around the other side, and Nancy Neff is with me, and I'm thinking, poor Nancy Neff, she needs a neck brace on, because I go and I see Kimberly, and the first thing that Kimberly and I start talking about is how fucked up this is. You see what I'm saying? 8s swear. 8s reflect anger. 8s will be that way. That's one of their natural ways to be. And it can be intimidating. It can feel like they're angry. And I'm thinking, poor Nancy Neff, how can she possibly comprehend my personality? It's like I'm a heckle and jive. You know, I'm what do you call it? How are those guys? Heckle and, or what is it?
Dr. What is it, Doctor? There's one Dr. Jekyll and
Jekyll and
Mr.
Hyde. Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah,
I'm like
Jekyll and
Jekyll and
Hyde.
Hyde. I'm in the community room, and I'm getting ready for prayer, and I'm focused, and I'm spiritual, and I come on the other side and I'm swearing like a truck driver with Kimberly Clark.
And I made it worse because she had also started to cry. And I know now that I made it worse by hugging her.
Oh, she's
I'm surprised she didn't kill me.
You know how much an 8 never wants to be touched when they're upset.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I am sorry.
No. I'm not doing that to do this. I'm being really real with you so that you can see when I share tonight my 8ness, what I'm hoping that does is it helps to encourage you to share, to think more about who you are in your personality style. I mean, you know, and I hope we can laugh at this.
I know. Yeah. See, I, as a 9, I just, when I see someone hurting, it's just, I want to hug them. So that's,
Right.
yeah. So that's
Right.
just my reaction. I want to comfort. I want to hug them.
Yes.
But I understand. I do understand.
So I'm just saying, if you look at it in that tender story that I just told you, in that tender story, what you see is personalities coming out, doing what they need to do at the moment, the way they need to do it. And you can't always say, oh, oh, I know who Jackie is, and she can't stand to be touched when she's in pain because she doesn't want to show her vulnerability and her fragility. So she's got to just like remain strong for her numerous reasons. So it'll be okay. I won't hug her. It's too hard to ask that of yourself. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where the compassion and the love comes between us, where we can say, where we can be honest with each other. And I think that's where Jesus talks about the idea of loving one another and forgiving one another, because, in our purest sense, there's always going to be a moment when we need forgiveness for who we are. So, what about from my side? How hard is it for me to be like this when I need to open up and let people in and let relationship open? I mean, people need that from me. It's, it can't all be the Jack show. It can't be anybody's all their show, but sometimes it is our show. And then that's how it goes. So 8s, let me tell you, 8s are the worst about that. We are big. We come into a room and we suck up everything in it. And that's what an 8's like. I mean, have you never noticed that about me?
There is a certain energy.
Yeah, you're a wonderful personality. Yeah, but you are strong, and well, you seem strong.
No, that's the 8. That's what I'm telling you. The 8s are super, super strong. They're the strongest. They're the strongest personality in some ways of all of the personalities. And if we work on a spiritual maturity, that can be a very good thing. As a matter of fact, for example, something that I could try to aspire to that, would never happen, but who's an 8? Martin Luther King.
Oh.
So I'm just saying, look at that big personality.
Yeah.
And that personality that, in his story, he has both this, like any other human being, and every single personality style that we all have our most beautiful moments, and we have our darkest moments. That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. So 8's deadly sin is lust, but it's not lust like sexual lust. It's lust after intensity. Now, has anybody ever noticed that in me? It can be seen in the excessiveness they evidence in every area of life. Domineering and confrontational, 8's present a hard, intimidating exterior to mask vulnerability.
And I think it's important to realize that when you showed a side of yourself that was an 8 side, but was also not an 8 side, crying, it really brought out a desire in me to fix it. And to that extent, we have expectations about how people will behave according to their type.
Well, yeah. And I would say, right. I mean, because of an 8's personality, you can be very uncomfortable when an 8 shows any vulnerability, because you're so used to them being strong. You're so used to them being in control. You're so used to all of that if they show any sense of vulnerability, it almost makes you feel uncontrollable. It makes you feel uncomfortable that they could be out of control. That can happen.
So much uncomfortable as worried.
Right. But whatever word you want to use for it, the idea is, whoa, there's something really,
Exactly.
this is not right. This is not right. This is not who, that's not the way we want it to be. So, and we all, that's part of our personalities. And so the 8, because of that, remember last week how we talked about how 7s, people can rely on 7s because the 7's supposed to be the fun of the party. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, 8s, we rely on 8s to be in control and to be calm and to be willing to lead. And when they don't, it can feel very disarming to us to have that chink in their armor. And believe me, there's no 8 in the world, including myself, that ever wants to show you that. Which makes it different.
That puts a lot on you, though.
Well, when I tell you that, I want you to think about your personality style and ask yourself, so what do you put on you? And then what do people expect from you? Because I'm telling you how it is with mine, and yours is the same. Each one of us has a distinct way. Margie.
I just want to comment, Jackie, I think a lot of this has to do with the environment you were in, the circumstances, the setting, because here you were as the leader of that worship service. You had that role. Some of us were able to go to the viewing for David. I wasn't able to go to the funeral, and you were vulnerable there because that was I guess the point is that's the appropriate time to show your vulnerability.
Right. And the fact, though, is that when is the appropriate time? I mean, in other words, okay, I'm the leader of the worship service, and it's the first time I'm back after David's died, and it's natural for people to feel like they want to take care of me.
I think
So-
whenever your emotions come out, your true emotions, and if it's crying, then that's fine and that's all right. I know you don't feel that way, but to me, I do. I feel
Right,
like
that's your personality. I want when every single thing that we say tonight, when we're talking, and we're talking about the intensity of the 8, since clearly we got an 8 able to deliver it. Think about when you were reacting to what I'm saying, and imagine what that says about the beautiful baseline of your personality, because each one of our personalities, these unique gifts that can go either one way or another, and can be really beautiful some days and really ugly other days, they are our beauty.
annoying. Yeah.
And each one of us contributes a different beauty. That's the idea of the 9 personality styles and the diversity of them. The thing is that we all have the potential to, out of who we are, bring such beauty and gift to people. Like when Rosemary talks about, being the party, being able to relax and have people feel joy in her presence and comfort in her presence. Each one of us, and when you're talking, Margaret, you're talking about a kind of generosity of spirit in the 9 that opens up to everyone. So each one of us, whichever yours is, I want to encourage us to lean on the beauty of your personality, recognizing that we're looking at all the ways it can go askew, because that's important for us to see. But it's only important for us to see that side so that we can see even more clearly the beauty of who we are, and we can take better care of ourselves.
It's funny. I have a lot of 8 friends. It's funny. I have a lot of friends who are 8, and it's so wonderful. The Enneagram is so helpful to know how to be friend. Well, and besides, 8s they're wonderful in a group. I mean, it's just I think learning about each other is we appreciate the gifts that they bring. The 8s give me stuff I need.
And actually the thing is, 8s are drawn to 2s, because 8s that's when an 8 is coming into their spiritual maturity. When I'm coming into my spiritual maturity, I go to the beautiful side of the 2. See, because an 8 is like going down the road, and they're not thinking about what anybody else feels, because they're going to lead and they're going to save, and we're all going to go. Just get behind me and we got it going. And that's what an 8's like. And an 8 has to learn to mature to say to somebody next to them, what do you think we ought to do? Not like they've got all the ideas and they can make it all happen. They have to mature to a loving 2, to want to know other people and care about people and love people, not just think they're supposed to be, like running down the road, pushing everybody some way that they think's the best way. That's what 8s do. We can be beasts. We can be beasts.
But you can also be great leaders. And I think that an 8, any of our types, we also need to appreciate the type itself rather than feel we have to force ourselves to the good side of our, what our target is. That a healthy 5, for example, when I'm doing well, I go to an 8, but that doesn't mean that I have to push myself. God will take me there on the occasions I need it. And there's something positive about the strength that eights bring.
Oh, yes, there is. But yes, exactly. So let's talk about a healthy eight brings. And a healthy eight, they are great friends, exceptional leaders, and champions of those who cannot fight on their own behalf. They have the intelligence, courage, and stamina to do what others say can't be done. They have learned to use power in the right measure at the right times, and they are capable of collaborating and valuing the contribution of others. They understand vulnerability and even embrace it at times. That's when a healthy eight, when an eight is self-aware and can open up into a way of moving past the immaturity of just wanting to control and run things. Average eights tend to be steamrollers more than diplomats. They are dualistic thinkers, so people are good or bad, opinions are right or wrong, and the future is bright or bleak. They prefer to lead, struggle to follow, and use aggression to emotionally protect themselves. Many eights are leaders, and others follow them with little or no hesitation. They have little patience with people who are indecisive or who don't pull their weight. You see, what that's telling you is that what we do as eights is we want everybody to be like us. We want you to behave and see the world the way we see the world. That's just a quality of an eight that we have to work on all the time. Unhealthy eights are preoccupied with the idea that they are going to be betrayed. Suspicious and slow to trust others, they resort to revenge when wronged. They believe they can change reality, and they make their own rules and expect others to follow them. Eights in this space destroy as much as they create, believing the world is a place where people are objects to be used, and contributions from others have little or no lasting value.
They're the ones that come in and say, this is my agenda and you will do it.
That's exactly right. And I can tell you that because I've been like that.
I've been in churches where we had leaders like that.
Yeah, I think that by the time, I think that I had worked through a lot of that by the time I was finally a priest, but I still had some of that in me. And I can look back at my early days of priesthood and see where at times, even though I was trying to be loving, I definitely had that idea of this is my agenda and we're going to do it, as opposed to asking people what would be best for them and how would we do together.
But
A lot of managers have that.
What about on the global scale? We have some world leaders like this.
Yes, no, we really do. Really,
The present time.
Yes, we do. We really, really do. We really do. You can see a broken eight in some of the people that are leaders. You can. I would say probably Putin is a very immature eight.
Yeah,
I would say probably Donald Trump is an immature eight.
right.
That when you look at that kind of personality style, where it's not, and you have to know in both cases, those men have good in their hearts as well. But it's so undeveloped. They're so lacking of awareness of who they are and the way they are, that and look, what are they all? They're both worried about what? Betrayal, right? Wanting to be in control and betrayal. And that is an eight, my friends. And an immature eight, a spiritually underdeveloped eight, is going to absolutely be a person who is about control, is about revenge, is about worry of betrayal. That's what we're like when we're not developed.
But you're getting better. What I've seen is you're getting better at listening and better at not letting your agenda rule what's going to happen. So you are improving in that aspect.
Well, I think I have been for a very long time. Thanks for observing that, Diane. But maybe that's why I lead so many spiritual growth, growth groups, and I want to be engaged with you guys, and I want to grow in this, because I have had a discomfort of being a giant personality that feels like it's pushing everything at everybody for a long time. And I haven't liked that about my personality. I don't want to be that way. Nancy.
I'm sorry to be too personal about this, but I think you're looking at the negative much more in this personality type than you do in all the others.
You're right.
You're
It's just because it's mine. It's because it's mine, and I can tell you the truth of it.
but the truth of it is also positive, and
Right.
you seem to be focusing on the negative.
Well, we haven't gotten to the positive yet.
Well, we got to the positives when we were talking
We
about
did.
healthy eights.
Right. And I did. And but remember, what we do in Enneagram class here is we focus on the more negative side.
Well, I think you're doing it more in this one than you do normally. So
Well,
You know why I think I'm doing
wanted
it?
She's giving us examples because it's her, I think, so she's giving us examples of different.
That's
things.
really what I'm trying to do, Nancy. And I hope I don't want to, let me see if I can adjust a little bit, but I'm really
Yeah.
telling you the darker side, because at 69, I've lived through years of the darker side, and I know how true the dark side of this personality type is. I don't feel like I'm there anymore. I feel like I'm much more spiritually mature than I've been. And I think that really, for me, the whole idea of focusing on Christ as my beloved, and as the mind that I want, has been, more than anything in the world, the thing that's helped to transform the sides of me that are wounded and dark. And I'll always have them with me. But when I share these things with you, I don't share them from a place where I feel bad about myself. I just share them as the truth of what my life was. And honestly, that's an 8. That's another thing about 8s. 8s are going to tell you straight out the truth, flat out. They're not going to paint it up, and they don't want you to paint things up for them. They're just going to tell you right out how it is. So,
But I think what you just said about growing into Christ
yeah,
is also the sort of thing that needs to be said about 8s. That's how you grew spiritually.
yes, that's what I'm
And-
telling you. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of things we need to hear as well.
Well, now you heard it.
There's more than that. Come on.
Ah. Okay, let's go to the dark side of the unhealthy 8. Are you ready?
Uh-oh.
Okay, here we are. Because we haven't gotten dark enough yet, kids.
Yeah, we just did that. Yeah.
The unhealthy 8s are preoccupied with the idea that they're going, oh, I said that already. So we're already through that,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. And then.
Okay, so 8s are called challengers because they're aggressive, confrontational, high voltage people who approach life the way Alaric and his Visigoths approached Rome. They sack it. The deadly sin of 8 is lust, but not in the sexual sense. 8 lusts after intensity. They're high voltage human dynamos who want to be wherever the action and energy are. And if they can't find any, they'll cook it up. 8s have more energy than any other number on the Enneagram. They are fiery, zestful, earthy, full throttle people who drink life down to the dregs and then slam the glass down and order a second round for everyone else at the bar. Yeah. Yep. That's who we are.
Yeah.
Well, there's
When
a lot
8
nice in that.
What'd you say, Nance?
There's a lot good in that.
Yes, there is.
Yeah,
Yes, there is. Believe me, I like being an 8. I'm just telling you the side of the 8 that's, not so pretty.
Okay. Okay.
You order the second round and then have a fight.
Exactly.
A bar fight.
That's right. Well, just even look at what you're saying about how I'm delivering the 8, right? It's kind of confrontational. I'm kind of telling you the whole thing the way it is.
Right.
I must be
Right.
an 8. All right. 8s walk into a room. When 8s walk into a room, you feel their presence before you see them. Their larger than life energy doesn't fill a space, it owns it. The defining feature of an 8 is the overabundance of intense energy they radiate wherever they go. Spiritually healthy, self-aware eights love to do what others say can't be done. When their energy is harnessed and channeled, they can change the course of history. Think Martin Luther King Jr. On the other hand, a spiritually underdeveloped eight who tests poorly on the self-knowledge scale is someone you want to keep away from kids. Think of Joseph Stalin.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All about eights or challengers. Anger is the dominant emotion of an eight's life. They are fiercely independent people whose oppositional energy expresses itself in a need to be strong and to go up against power. Eights assume others are untrustworthy until they've proven themselves otherwise. It's no surprise then that anger is their go-to emotion. It's so close to the surface that you can sometimes feel it like it's radiating off them like a space heater. And because anger is so easy for them to access, an average eight can be a little too quick to the draw, firing off a few rounds at people without thinking beforehand about the consequences. Their flashes of anger, however, are unconscious defense maneuvers to avoid acknowledging or revealing weakness or vulnerability. I can't say that to you enough. The big concern of eights is weakness and vulnerability. Eights use anger as a, what's that word, palisade? To hide behind and defend the softer, more tender feelings of the open-hearted, innocent child they once were, the one they don't want others to see. Eights don't come equipped with dimmers. They are on or off, all in or all out. They go big or go home. They want to express their animal drives and satisfy their appetite for life without limitations or constraints being placed on them by anybody. This impulsive all or nothing approach to life leaves eights prone to being overindulgent and excessive. They can overwork, overparty, overeat, overexercise, overspend, over anything. I like to overdecorate. I would put ducks, swans, Bambi deer, all plastic things that you can think of in my front yard. If I didn't have friends who controlled me, we'd be in trouble. For an eight, too much of a good thing is almost enough. All this hot-blooded, passionate, and combative energy can feel overwhelming and threatening to people who aren't eights. I can't even tell you how much it baffles eights that we are disturbing. We don't see it. I want you to know that eights don't recognize how they come off.
I have a friend I know who is an eight, and anyway, she seated people at our programs at the car house, and she just like said, "You sit there," and she was very, as her husband said, "Well, Barbara is very directive." Yes, but the thing is, people confronted her and they said, "You're out and out rude." And it made her cry, afterwards. She said, "How could people have thought I was rude?" And she said, "I was just telling them what was good for them."
That's such a perfect way to put it, Rosemary. That's the situation with eights is frequently eights think they're just being helpful. They don't have any awareness of how they come off.
Right. And very directive and boss, And she said,
Yeah, I have a friend like that. Very.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm beginning to
But see,
I'm
I
beginning
don't
to feel like
I
I'm an eight.
I don't see you that way, Jackie, though.
Well, I've been working at it for a lot of years.
Yeah, well, but this friend that I'm thinking of, I do see her like this.
Well, but that's the thing of it. It's like it takes years of work and self-awareness to recognize, especially in eights. And the reason we're going to get down into this farther, but the reason eights don't recognize how they are is because underneath an eight is extremely tender and loving.
Yeah,
You won't see it. You won't. you often won't see it in an 8, because an 8 will use their energy and their assertiveness to direct things and take care of things and make them happen. And they'll never show you their vulnerability or their fragility. So you don't know that it's coming from love. You think it's coming from somebody being bossy and opinionated and pushy and obnoxious. You don't know that it's coming from the place that this person is trying to do something out of love. I would say 8s probably feel the 8s are some of the feel the deepest pain of misunderstanding of the personality styles. They feel they're misunderstood.
And all of the 8s I know, and as I say, I know a lot of them, hearing their child, just hearing it, I think they're my friends because I'm so interested in the stories of their childhood. And I mean, it's just, I just see it somehow they're hurting children.
Yes, that's
I
very
guess-
true.
And I guess I can be mom. So,
Well, yes, yes.
but I'm picking up that's sort of the relationship kind of shift we have is the, I can comfort Barbara's hurting child.
Yeah,
I know how to do that.
yeah, yeah. That's it. Yeah. So, see, here we see it. 8 don't see themselves as angry people. In fact, they're genuinely surprised when they learn other people experience them as intimidating and sensitive and domineering. 8s see themselves as honest, straight talking people who aren't afraid to go nose to nose with whatever life throws at them and always leave everything on the field. It's, and so I would say, I haven't, this is a crazy day. I haven't been able to go through the 10, spiritual practices that this book recommends. I haven't done that this week because it's just so many things have happened. I haven't been able to type it up for you, but I'll get it there. But I wouldn't be surprised if we go in there and one of the very first things they tell you to do is an 8 is to begin to practice being aware of how other people are reacting. I would not be surprised if the spiritual path of an 8 is to practice awareness of how other people are reacting. Because they don't. Eights are figuring they're taking care of everybody and they're going to fight for everybody and they're going to make everything okay. And they're not thinking, like, how many of us want somebody to fight for us and make everything okay? Most of us don't. If you think about it. So 8s care deeply about justice and fairness. They are fierce advocates for widows, orphans, the poor, and the marginalized. They have no problem speaking truth to power, and they are perhaps the only number on the Enneagram who are brave enough to confront and take down the oppressors and dictators of the world. Having witnessed or experienced the negative consequences of powerlessness as a child, the 8 identifies with the easily preyed upon and rushes to their aid.
So
You
were
might have
made-
noticed this in me a few times.
Were you made to feel powerless as a child, Jackie? Is that?
Yes, very much,
Yeah.
very much, very much.
Do you want to just say how that, because I'm not sure how, I don't understand how
Well,
it's,
when for many, we're going to get into the childhood of 8s, but for many 8s, they had to take on the responsibility of being adult and of protecting others at a very early age. And I grew up in a very, Nancy and I grew up in a very difficult family. Our father was a very angry alcoholic, and our mother, she was, I would say, the best way I could describe it, she was a wonderful person. She was addicted to like Valium, that and that stage of life. So there was a lot of, we didn't have a lot of money. There's all kinds of things going on. And my father was physically violent and verbally violent. And so, so I was the third child, and we each experienced that different in our family. And how I experienced that was I was the one that felt like I had to step in. So when my father wanted to hit my mother, I had to stand in and tell him to hit me instead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I know, and thank you, and thank you. But you can see how that made me like really toe to toe and want to fight.
Yeah.
And so that was my personality style. So, you know, what was I doomed to with my father, who was an angry man, when I would be willing to fight him and try to prove what a terrible oppressor he was? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How would that work? Hold on one second here.
You're really taking on oppressors just like it describes.
Just like it described from a very early age. That's how I was. And so all of the things that are about an 8. So that's what, as children, you know, when you listen to what I'm saying, if you go and look at your childhood and you look at the expression of your personality style, you'll notice that you're, as a little sweet, innocent baby, you started already looking at what was going on in your family, in your life, in your school, with your siblings, with your, you know, with everyone in your life. Your eyes were already looking to react to the world from the gift of your personality style. And we learned our best qualities that have that double-edged sword of good and difficult. And then we learned them from the time we were little, as we looked at life and we responded to life from the experience that we had. So it's really good for us to be able to see the new thing that God does in us as we study the Enneagram, and see how those things that maybe a number of them developed a worldview that was painful for us. But when we can look at them now, we can see how they can bring really wonderful gifts into the world. As we let those stories show us how they taught us to be our personality, and then take the good and the strength and the beauty in it. So I think I've gotten a lot of good and strength and beauty. I'm overjoyed, to tell you the truth. I'm overjoyed with the life that I've had, with the ability to love and care for people who are vulnerable and in need. When I ever took the job at Willimantic, I thought, who could have ever put a more perfect job in my life?
It shows.
So I'm just saying, though, that's what happens with our knowing ourselves and trusting in God and being hungry. And like you said, yes, God does absolutely transform us. And it's not about our will trying to transform us, but it is our will to be open to the transformation of God. So I don't think it's about pushing yourself to go somewhere so much. It is being willing to let yourself hear the truth about yourself. That would be what Nate would say. Let yourself hear the truth about who you are, and then let God help you with it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
So let's see what else we can see about the 8. Okay, so having witnessed or experienced negative consequences, the 8 identifies with the preyed upon, rushes to aid them. And this is the temptation of the 8, who are more often dualistic than non-dualistic thinkers. Okay, so I've had to work years at this with counseling and stuff. I didn't even realize I was a dualistic thinker. I had this therapist for like 3 years who kept saying to me, every time I would talk, she would go, "You're thinking in a very dualistic way," and I'd be like, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not. What do you mean I'm thinking? I am not." And I'd have to go home and I'd have to think about it, and I'd have to go, "Oh, really, I am, I guess." So that's what happens. We see things as black or white, good or bad, fair or unfair. People are friend or foe, weak or strong, streetwise or suckers. In an 8's mind, you and I have opinions while they have facts. They absolutely believe their viewpoints or positions on issues are irrefutable. They reject taking a nuanced view of anything, because not having clarity or absolute certainty about your position represents weakness, or, God forbid, cowardice.
Can I make an observation that's pretty funny?
Please.
In the previous paragraph, the 8's identified with the easily preyed upon. You've spelled it as in prey to pray rather than P-R-E-Y.
I know.
Oh,
We have to be careful about people who are preyed upon.
Interesting, right? Right.
Could that be a
Ah.
Freudian slip?
Freudian, yeah, Freudian slip.
Uh,
Good catch. Wow.
For eights, a good old fashioned verbal brow gives them the opportunity to get big and disabuse people of any illusions they might previously have held about the 8 being weak. This is why I got beat by my father. My father would get drunk and I would get big in an argument and he would always win because he'd beat me. And I would go ahead and hit me, sucker. It's not going to hurt. Like, tough 8 from the beginning. 8s value truth, and there's nothing like a nose-to-nose confrontation to bring light to it. 8s know other people. Now, this is really important. 8s know other people can show their hands in the heat of a fight. A confrontation can expose what's really behind the scenes, force people's real intentions or hidden agendas into the open, or reveal whether people can stand their ground and be trusted.
Hi, Jackie.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Good. Yeah, I have to take off now because it's almost time for my camera club Zoom meeting. So I'll probably catch the rest of this on the church website.
Great.
Okay.
Good to see you, Paul. Love you. See you soon.
Hi, Paul.
Uh,
Well, we're going along here, aren't we? Woo, we are.
Oh,
So 8 is children. A common story for 8 as children is that something happened during their formative years that required them to prematurely abandon their childlike innocence in order to take responsibility for their own lives and often the lives of others. Some 8s were raised in unstable environments or homes where toughness was rewarded with praise. Others report they were bullied at school until it became clear they could rely on no one but themselves. Regardless of the root cause, as kids, 8s picked up the message that the world is a hostile place where only the strong survive and the weak or innocent get emotionally beaten up or betrayed. So put on your armor and never let them see your soft side. 8s worry a lot about betrayal. It's why many of them won't trust more than a small circle of friends over a course of their lives. As they grew a little older, 8s looked around the sandbox or their home and saw a might makes right world in which there were 2 types of people, those who controlled others and those who submitted. 8s don't feel like they have to be the person in control. They just don't want to be controlled. You will never fully understand 8s if you don't grasp this distinction. Amen.
mm.
8s are not characteristically bullies. Bullies act out to compensate and cover their own fears, while 8s aren't afraid of anyone. Because of their concern for justice and desire to instinctively protect and defend the disadvantaged, 8s are more likely to stand up to bullies.
Yeah.
Young 8s will get in line when limits are placed on them, but their motives have less to do with pleasing and more with hoping they'll be rewarded with more freedom and independence for good behavior. They don't feel the need to conform, but they know when it's to their advantage to follow the rules. The downside to their independence and self-reliance is that these kids can forget their innocence much too early, and it is difficult to reclaim it in later life. They need to recover a little of the open-heartedness that defines childhood for others. They need to remember that time in life when they didn't need to be in charge or control to feel safe, when they could trust others to protect them. They need the lessons that mistakes and weakness teach us, the value of an apology, the experience of forgiveness, and the lessons we only learn from following another leader. Hence, my favorite leader, who's taught me a lot, Jesus Christ.
Okay, I was going to say, I hope you had somebody in your life as a child who let you feel like a child and, You felt protected or safe. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
It's all right. I don't want, you know what, this is the thing, that this is just, this isn't about, I just want you to understand the 8, and I'm obviously a distinct 8, but I just think that not all 8s have that terrible, have terrible childhoods, but regardless of it, when you're an 8, there's just this worldview that occurs to you, and 8s as children often are not really acceptable because when you're that hard leadership, wanting to control and that, when a kid's like that, they're like, imagine the most annoying bossy kid that you knew in your class. They were probably an 8, an immature, underdeveloped 8. So,
Sounds like 8s could be bullies.
they could look like bullies. Yes, they could look like bullies. And, but like every other personality style, they have their tender side, but that's the thing. 8s personalities are so strong and so aggressive that from the time they're little, there's a lot of stuff going on in that personality that I would say probably maybe even I don't think it'd be unfair to say that it's really important for 8s to get counseling and to work on their journeys. Like if an 8 in your life, there's probably a good chance that you need to encourage them from time to time to maybe get somebody to give them another point of view on life. I just think, I see Rosemary nodding her head. She has a lot of 8 friends. I just think that that's true about an 8 personality.
Most of the, as I say, most of the 8s I know ended up being a lot. 3 of them I know ended up being responsible for their mothers when their fathers died. It's like they had to take over very early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's just one more thing I want to point out, and I know we're running late today, and maybe the good thing about running late is that through this kind of conversation on the 8 in personality, because it's mine, there's a way to be able to look more into your own personality styles if you're not an 8, from the direction of recognizing that each of us needs to take really good care of ourselves, and each of us has our own wounds and our own brokenness that we carry through life from our experience as children. Even if you lived in the best idyllic family that you could imagine from the time you were little, because you had to go through, we all as human beings have to go through survival, right? I mean, that's the first, I think it's like the first 12 years of our lives, we're working on being able to trust that somebody's going to take care of us, trust that we can take care of ourselves, work through survival. So there's no way that we can go through our early childhood without in some way getting broken thoughts about the world. Doesn't that kind of make Lent a beautiful thing and make Christ's gift to us really lovely? Because if we can know that from the time we were little, our sweet little child inside us, for a million reasons, was hurt, and so we have certain worldviews that are hurt, wouldn't it be a good thing for us to be able to trust in the love of God to help us forgive ourselves and grow and be healed, and to forgive those who hurt us and to grow and be healed and be set free to be more beautifully ourselves?
Well, you're forgetting too, Jackie, that you had to be the defender, maybe, I don't know if that's the right word, of David.
Yes.
Him
No, I didn't. I forgot.
disabled. You had to be the one to stand up for him. He couldn't stand up for himself. And that's a hard thing to do sometimes. And you did a good job with it. So
yeah. I was blessed with that. Thanks for mentioning that. So, we're at the end of our time, and we really haven't gotten all the way through the 8, but I'm going to send you the resources on the 8. All right. And,
Okay.
I actually want to tell you that I really appreciated the conversation tonight. I think that I hope it was as much of a gift to you as it was to me to think about what our journeys are about and the things that we've experienced in life, and the beauty and the gifts that that love can bring to us as we grow in who we are, and what we can bring to those who we can see them and we can see where they are, and out of tenderness we can be present to them. Nancy?
Do we have time for just one comment? If I
Sure,
can
we
talk
have
about
plenty.
myself a minute.
Yep.
The 5 is does go to more an 8 type when they're doing well. And this has been very powerful for me, because I've realized that I've shown a lot of 8 tendencies, a lot of 8 characteristics, that I was even fired at work for standing up for somebody that was being picked upon by a manager. And I told the manager to stop it. And the group, that we were a small team, and he told us to release a procedure with a recommendation that wasn't our recommendation. And again, it was standing up for truth. I told the others, sorry, I'm resigning, rather than do that. And they all said, oh my God, if you're going to resign, we are too. And I was essentially leading the group. And when we all resigned, the manager went to the VP and said, you've wanted me to lay off somebody. Well, I'll lay them off as long as I can lay off Nancy too. And there was a big flap over it, and I got rehired, but he fired me. So it was an 8 standing up, speaking truth to power, and defending people. So it's kind of amazing. I feel validated.
Good.
If you don't mind me talking about something positive about it.
Well, I'm sorry if you all heard, if it sounded like I was speaking completely negative about the 8 personality, because I really didn't intend for that to sound that way tonight.
No, it wasn't completely.
Yeah, no, it didn't sound that way to me.
No.
I realized what you were trying to do and everything.
Yes, I think I do too. I just didn't want it to be too extreme, was the only reason I spoke up. But I'm aware of sort of bragging about myself, and I don't mean it as bragging. I just mean it as, oh my God, I have a realization here that makes me feel pretty good.
Oh, that's really good. That's really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you the rest of this material. Next week during Holy Week, we're going to be doing Personality 9. And you know what's kind of cool about doing Personality 9? Personality 9 kind of, it's the last one in the Enneagram, but it's also beautiful because Personality 9 kind of takes on all of the different gifts of the Enneagram, of all the different personality types. There's a lot of really interesting things to see in that. So it feels to me like to finish up the personalities during Holy Week from that direction. Obviously, we have another couple weeks of review afterwards, but it seems to me like a really cool space to have 9 fall in Holy Week. That's,
Well, I'm looking forward to that, because my thing, what I took was, I'm a true 9, so that's good.
That's really good. That's really good. That's really good. So I will promise to get you all this material for the stuff that we didn't get to go into, but you know what? It was I felt like it was a really great conversation, and I hope you were all blessed by it tonight.
Yep.
Yes.
Was good.
Thank you.
And I wish you a very lovely last week of Lent, and we'll all be back. We'll all be back next week for Personality 9.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
So I say good night. God bless you.
I know. Love you.
When we were kids, we always used to say, good night. God bless you. Sweet dreams.
Yes, I used to do sweet dreams with my nephew who I took care. I know, it was always sweet dreams. Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Good night, everybody. Bye. Bye.